Welcome back to my kitchen. The good ripe tomatoes that I'm gonna use for the bruschetta that I'm gonna make and can. I'm gonna add more ripe tomatoes to this. We'll see how much more I'm gonna need. I also harvested a bunch of fresh basil. For the bruschetta canning, I'm gonna use various sizes of jars, and we'll see how many I actually end up with. But I always prepare more jars than I'm gonna need, so I'm gonna do 4 pint size and 2 half pint size jars, and all I have to do is really just wash it out with soapy water. These been cleaned last year after I was done with them, but they're sitting on the dusty shelf all winter, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure the rims are not damaged and there's nothing stuck around the neck, especially because dried food tend to get stuck there. For the bruschetta, I'm gonna be using preserved garlic. They were preserved whole in olive oil when I harvested all my garlic. And I'm gonna chop some onions. This is optional. I just do like some onions in my bruschetta. I think 1 medium head will be enough for this. Cook it in the smaller pot. So a head of onion chopped up to the size you like, and now I'm ready to work on my tomatoes. These are beautiful Cherokee purple tomatoes, nice and meaty. I'm gonna remove anything that looks green or damaged a little bit. Clean it up, but I'm leaving the skin. So depending on what size you want, you will chop them. So remember, these will be used for topping toast, right? That's how you usually serve this. So just think about it that way, so it's not too big of a piece hanging off your toast. So probably smaller than bite-sized pieces. Sort of the similar size that my onion pieces, and you can see it's not that liquidy. That's the type of tomatoes you want for this, because then you have to cook away your liquid, most of it at least. smells so good. The fresh tomato smell in the middle of summer. I would say start out with a couple of pounds of tomatoes, see what that's gonna do for you, how many jars you're gonna fill up with that. I should have weighed but I would think I have about 4 pounds by the time I'm done. I think this will be enough for now. The beauty of this thing, you can keep making different batches different days as you get more tomatoes. So the next thing I want to add to this is the garlic, and I think I'm gonna just chop it into bigger pieces rather than just crushing them. So I drained the oil of it because I don't want the oil to go into this, but it was preserved in oil. Cut up the garlic to your liking. As you can see, I'm using a lot of garlic. What is this, 30 cloves? I think that's good. That's a lot of garlic. And the last thing I want to put in here is basil. Lots of basil. Matter of fact, all the basil I harvested will go into this. So you keep chopping until you don't recognize any leaves. So I have a good pile of basil. Next thing, I'm gonna put in a couple of teaspoons of salt. This is kosher salt or just very natural salt. Doesn't have any additives. Okay. And lastly, I'm gonna add a very little bit of balsamic vinegar. This is really old, but it lasts forever, seems like. So I'm gonna start with 2 teaspoons. Oops. That's about 2 teaspoons. And I'm gonna taste it, and if I'm happy with that, then I'm gonna start cooking it down a little. It looks good already, doesn't it? I think I'm gonna put a little more vinegar. Taste it again. Just perfect. So now I'm gonna cook this for about 15 minutes. I'm gonna taste it and see how I like the texture, and then we're gonna go ahead and can it up. While my bruschetta is cooking down up here, I'm gonna heat my oven to 215 and sterilize those jars that I think I'm gonna need. Again, I'm gonna do more than probably I'm gonna need. But I like to have extra rather than not have enough in the middle of canning, right? So that will cook in here for 15 minutes. So getting ready to actually do the canning for the bruschetta. I'm gonna put my lids into hot water. You don't really have to do that anymore, I heard, but I just do it anyway. And I even put my rings into the hot water so everything gets the same temperature. I have everything washed, all my utensils, the funnel that I'm gonna need, and I have a wet paper towel that I'm gonna use to wipe the rims. I have my sterilized jars in the oven. They are still hot. And I like to just do a couple of jars at a time. I'm gonna start ladling this in. I don't know how many I'm gonna have filled up. Looks like just 2 of these. That's okay. I have just some leftover. I'm gonna eat that later. All I do is wipe off the rim, make sure there's nothing preventing the seal. So I'm gonna need 2 of these anyway. And I need 2 lids. Tighten this ring over the lid just enough so it's tight, sitting on the jar tightly. I'm going to put this into boiling water. The water does not have to cover the jar, but I do like to make it so. So the 2 jars that I have just sitting right under the level of the water. I'm gonna boil these pint-sized jars for 10 minutes. That's all it takes. So it's been 10 minutes. It's been in the boiling water for 10 minutes. I'm gonna pull these out now. Ever so carefully. And put them on a towel to cool off. And in about 5 minutes, they're gonna pop down. And when they cooled off totally, then I'm gonna put them into the pantry. I probably will put a date on it as well. So these are my canned bruschetta that I'll be serving with toast on a winter day. And I'm gonna top it with Parmesan cheese and some fresh olive oil and some ground pepper, and it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful appetizer, snack, or dinner. That's the point of canning. See you next time.